Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's 3:32 p.m. on the 4th of June, 2025. I'm calling this meeting of the Maple Broadband Executive Committee to order. So the first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. So you've all had a chance to review the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Okay, that's like a lot of you.
Yeah, Ellie,
Yes?
on the agenda, can we add maybe under 6 someplace, the Finance Committee? I'd like to know what happened.
Okay. That would be under updates, I guess. We'll put that. So
Okay, I didn't know if
first of all,
there would be anything confidential, that's all.
So, I mean, just first of all, procedurally, we should get a motion in a second, and then we can edit. So, I saw a couple of hands. So, how about if we have Jeff made the motion, Nancy seconded, and we're now doing comments. So, I will put that under. How about I put that under after the audit? I will put Finance Committee update. How does that sound? Okay. Any other suggested edits to the agenda? Okay. All in favor of approving the agenda as modified, raise your hand or say aye. Okay, now we have an agenda. Next up is approval of the minutes from May 21st. So you've all had a chance to review those. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Nancy? Second from Shannon. All right, any comments? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand or say aye. All right, public comments. Would anyone like to make a public comment at this time? It's sunny. That should not go in the minutes. Anyone else? Okay, Steve, chair report.
Yeah, I think most of what I want to talk about, we'll probably be talking about in executive session. I think from my perspective, with all the stuff you forwarded on, Ellie, my take of it is that we still don't know if we're going to be successful with BEAD. And if we are successful with BEAD, chances are we're not going to build anything until next year. But I think it's unfair to make any solid assumptions at this point. It's all wide open. So that's my report.
Thank you, Steve. I can't disagree with anything there. We remain in the veil of uncertainty.
Except
Nancy?
you didn't mean that we wouldn't build anything until next year, right? You meant we would not build anything with BEAD money until next year.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. Good distinction.
Yes, very good distinction, actually. Yeah, because that's part of what we'll be talking about in our executive session. Okay, so for my report, I actually had Finance Committee one of the things is we have a Finance Committee meeting on Monday, so that's part of what I'll be doing is, we'll have the report when we get to it. So anyway, I sent some materials to the Finance Committee, and then I'm sure as an output from the Finance Committee, there will be more homework. So that's part of what I'll be doing in the coming weeks. The VCB's long drop program we also have on the agenda later, but that's on the list. We also have audits, so that's a lot of what I've been working on is trying to get 23 closed up. We're close to that now, and trying to finish the asset capitalization for 24 so we can get everything to Bonnie in one nice package. And then the other part of what I have been working on and will work on is, as discussed last time we met in executive session, trying to work on what we do this year, which we will talk about in executive session. I have a presentation and recommendation that we'll discuss there. That is it for me. Does anyone have any questions? I feel like that was all really vague or things we're talking about later, but we'll get to the things later. Okay, if not, then I'm going to turn it over to Ashley I'm quite excited for this because obviously one of the things I have been working on is working with the London Middlebury team on trying to really ramp up our marketing and get our take rate up so that we can be maximizing the assets that we do have right now and maximizing the revenue that we get from those assets. So, Ashley, can I turn it over to you to present?
Absolutely. Thanks, Ellie. And let me get my screen sharing.
So we have the agenda order is KPIs, WCBT, co-branding, summer marketing campaigns, and website update. So I think that's the same order as your slides.
It was until I just changed my slide order 2 minutes ago, but I will go back to that because I
Oh,
did
it's fine.
not ask to amend the
I'm.
agenda.
It's fine. I think it's close enough. Close enough for government work.
Okay, so
KPIs is
nice to
first.
see all of you. Last time we chatted, it was much darker and much colder. So coming together on a sunny 90-degree day seems like a let's not take it for granted. So we heard from Ellie that she shared some of the summer campaign ideas and just overall marketing strategy, like what the roadmap would look like. And a question that you all had was about KPIs, which is what we appreciate from this group of how thorough you always all are. And so gave us the opportunity to come back with you and share the key things that we'll be measuring as we implement these new marketing tactics and launch the campaigns, all weighted a bit differently, and some of them being combinations of certain KPIs. So while we'll track each of them individually, at the end of the day, the biggest key performance indicator is new customers, of course, right? But there are certain things that can lead to new customers, and certain things that also might not necessarily equate to new customers, even though they're really valuable indicators of the success of these different marketing tactics. So we tiered them into 3 different tiers. The first one, most important KPIs, being customer acquisition. So that includes those new orders, new customers, and take rate being just a very standard metric. So we can have that and also compare that against other CUDs, being privy to that information to kind of just be able to see where we're at relative to the rest of the state as well. And then on tier 2, digital engagement, these are the easiest for us to track because we have those metrics built into all these platforms. So you can see here in the slide, we have some of those target open rates. It's an email open. So the target there is 30%, standard industry standard is 20%, really great is 40% and above. So we're liking the 30%, which typically Maple Broadband does have a high open rate. We're very happy with the standard newsletter open rate, but as we get into more and more segmented email marketing blasts, we want to make sure that we maintain that high open rate. And that will confirm our hypotheses that the folks that we are sending these messages to are the right audiences and that the messaging that's crafted resonates with them. For social media engagement, this one is something that we're really kind of doing the baseline of social media right now because there isn't a huge following and there's a lot of effort to grow a following. And we have other avenues where we want to increase Maple Broadband brand awareness and understanding. And so this is a smaller increase of followers. Website traffic, looking at trying to get 100+ users a month, and we're excited to probably adjust what that KPI will look like once the new website is launched. We're so excited. I'll give you updates on the new website a little bit later, but for that to be a very different user experience, a really streamlined, smooth one that helps helps visitors build confidence in the brand. And then engagement, so more opportunities to capture users, not just in the crowd fiber sign up, but if they're not ready to do that and they want to learn more information or join the newsletter, have other areas where they get information that isn't necessarily subscribing, we'll have those opportunities too. And then the community touch points. So a big part of the summer campaigns are more in-person interactions with Maple Broadband and the community. So these are pop-ups, these are registration stacking events, they might be door-to-door campaigns or door-to-door knocking. So what does that look like? How many people are showing up to the events that we're promoting? How many people are we actually getting to sign up at those events? We'll have QR codes for more information. So that's something that we can measure. And then, of course, after all of these events take place, we need to keep following up with them and making Maple Broadband a strong presence. So we'll be sending sequential emails after that and then resonant social media as well. So that is in a big nutshell, the KPIs. There are many others, of course. And again, at the end of the day, it's how many folks do we get to place an order and take that order all the way to completion to then being live and connected. I'll pause there for a moment. Any questions or thoughts? Okay, great. So then that will lead me into just talking about what the summer looks like. So really excited to start to do that boots on the ground, neighbor to neighbor, door to door outreach strategy. We have a few opportunities for folks to volunteer and participate that are not just door-to-door knocking, because we want folks to really understand that this is a community investment, and the more that we as a community put into it, the more we'll ultimately get out of it. But at the highest level, we'd love to help folks build confidence in being a Maple Broadband ambassador. And those are the folks that'll go door to door in their neighborhoods and just be available to ask if folks are familiar with Maple Broadband, if they've inquired about the service, what questions they might have. And I like kind of thinking of this in a green up day model. So someone who kind of will lead a Saturday morning or lead a Thursday evening will gather a group together. They'll all disperse for an hour in their respective roads or areas they might take, and then come back and share their experiences so that they can do it again. So not trying to have folks necessarily do this individually and campaign individually, as we often see with political campaign door knocking, but really make it more of a group, a fun thing to do as a group. And so strategic neighborhood mapping, looking at homes in Cornwall, Orwell, Shoreham, and Whiting, those green zones plus active construction areas, and then also developing just really comprehensive materials kits that are those leave behinds that folks can have on their kitchen counters or door hangers if they aren't there, but just get the Maple Broadband brand and information into those homes in a more whatever is in between temporary and permanent kind of way. Because eventually those materials might get recycled, but they'll stay a little bit longer than a flash in the pan of an email or a social media post. We've also talked about other volunteer opportunities just to have folks again feel committed and connected to the brand. So infrastructure survey teams, these are the folks that we can let them know how to look at the polls and see if the infrastructure is there for fiber in their communities. Because, and Ellie, maybe you can speak a little bit better on this if you'd like, but we don't necessarily know where the competitors are and where they aren't, even though they might be saying they're in certain places too. So there aren't enough of us in this Teams room to go out and look everywhere. So how can we start to recruit some community members to help with that? And then of course, we need more bodies to help us at field days, to help us at these pop-up events, to host these neighborhood registration stacking and for Jen's Energy Day and other places where Maple Broadband will be present. So recruiting folks for that, and we really lean on the executive committee and the governing board to help us find folks, and also we invite you to attend and participate yourselves as well. And then kind of later down the road, maybe some customer success follow-up. People really enjoy during the market research just getting a call from a representative of Maple Broadband and being able to share their experiences. So potentially this is something that we can employ. And then the other thing that's not here is we're actively recruiting for the first summer photo shoot so that we can have photos that represent the Addison County community and have that be on the new website. So that's happening the end of June. And I would love to send out the sign up form to you all if you'd like to join, but we've been posting it on social and Front Porch Forum, and we've had some folks that are filling it out. And every person is the right person to participate in this photo shoot. And it's really sweet, the messages that we're getting of folks. Some folks are saying, my partner and we love Maple Broadband. We're so happy that this exists in our community, and we're so excited to be part of the photo shoot. And then other folks who say, I live in Addison County and I can't get Maple Broadband for whatever reason, but I love what you're doing. And I'm also a little bit lonely, so I want to be part of the community and come out and be part of this photo shoot too with other people who support things that I do. So it's really sweet seeing folks come out. Any questions here? I will say that this is, sorry, Steve, one moment. This one slide is accompanied by a 20-page document that is the strategy for how we'll be implementing the door-to-door campaign with specific scripts and areas and such. Yeah, Steve. Oh, you're muted.
What's the minimum target for number of broadband ambassadors we're looking to get on board?
That's a really great question. We have not set that number because we are hesitant to make this an aggressive obligation by anyone or any community. But we would love to see there be a champion in each of these communities in Cornwall, Orwell, Shoreham, and Whiting, and beyond. And ideally, they would go out with 4 or 5 other folks on a given door knocking session. So would love to get 20 to 30 people signed up for that. But the more, the better.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. And the thought here is that they're knocking on doors of hopefully they know most of the people whose doors they're knocking on. We're not trying to have them go on strangers' doors, but maybe it's the next street or two over, the next neighborhood over from where they live. Yeah,
Have you
Jeff.
gotten any response to the most recent newsletter requesting volunteers?
I apologize that I did not check that form before I signed in to this meeting today, but I'm happy to get back to you with that information. Did you sign up, Jeff?
I'm already volunteering. I'm on this call.
True.
And that's the biggest thing that is really helpful because you all put so much work into being in this board, and this is that is a pure joke. I know how much effort goes into governing Maple Broadband, but forwarding that along to folks who might not be on the email list or double checking that someone who might be interested in helping did see it is really helpful. So just passing along those links is amazing if you all don't mind supporting us in that way. Any other questions here? So this is what the boots on the ground looks like in the summer, but also like I'd sent over the slides for just the general campaign. So these are the main themes. We have the general brand awareness, wanting to increase brand awareness. And if you recall from earlier in the winter when we were talking, we are doing a messaging shift. So the message layering strategy now leads with the features and benefits of the product. So speed, reliability, and quality. And then the local part being the second layer of the strategy. And you might have seen that shift a bit already, and it's in every new material that's coming out. This is how it's being implemented. So an example is that on the homepage of the website, instead of it being locally rooted, globally connected, it's more focused on speed without excuses and the speeds that you can get, and just showing that we can compete with the big guys, and make it a little more apples to apples with folks who are comparing. So you'll just start to see that and a lot of the budget allocated for general brand awareness is digital marketing budget. So the Google ads, the social ads that all push the product more than the values of, or sorry, like the mission of Maple Broadband. You'll also see Maple Broadband popping up in community sponsorships. So Festival on the Green, for Jen's Day, just establishing the community presence a bit more. The Porter Centennial celebration in 2 weeks, Maple Broadband is sponsoring that as well. So we're excited for the brand to show up where we feel like a brand like this should show up in the community and support in that way. Then we have the more technical campaigns. So the aerial option, there are customers that aerial is readily accessible to them right away. So getting that low hanging fruit and getting them into our customer journey, hopefully converting them. And then the fast track to fiber. This is a promotional campaign where Ellie has been working very hard to identify the addresses where homes are within the 400 feet of the utility poles, and so that they can get connected quote unquote immediately to Maple Broadband fiber service, without having to go through the inquiries of what it might look like to get a buried connection and the wait time there as well. So we're piloting this campaign via email and mailers that will actually postcard mailers that will land in their mailboxes in Virgins, to a number of addresses there. And you've approved a budget of $7,500 for us to give waived installation fees for that campaign. So we're hoping to launch this in the next couple of weeks. And the thing that's exciting there is it will be a really great indicator if if installation fees are a barrier to entry for our prospective customers or not. And if it doesn't seem to be making a huge difference, we'll draw some conclusions from that as well. But this is the first promotion of this kind that we are going to be launching, and so look forward to reporting back on that to you. The Experience Tomorrow's Internet Today. These are those pop-up events I've been talking about, and they're kind of connected to the registration stacking. That's the bullet below as well. But local venues like Lulu Ice Cream has agreed to host a Maple Broadband pop-up where folks can come and test how amazing the Maple Broadband service is, the internet speeds firsthand while they're in there. Like with Lulu, they'll be supporting a local business too if they care to get ice cream, and then also there will be a representative for Maple Broadband there to answer questions and hopefully get folks signed up. The registration stacking is similar but different. This might happen on a corner of a neighborhood. So if we think of a Virgins neighborhood like the new Claybrook community, that there might be a few neighbors that already have Maple Broadband, but not everybody. So how can we just literally do a pop-up there and say, the more folks in your community in this exact neighborhood that sign up, the quicker we can get it to you? Because we did have a conversation with WCVT that the number one determinant of the timeline of how long it takes to get installed is how many installs they actually have. So the more they have, the quicker they can come out because they can kind of do them all together at once. So we're really pushing the registration stacking very localized to specific neighborhoods or roads, and so that we can say, hey, we have 10 new installs on this road, WCVT, and so let's get your crew out here. So excited for that, but of course leaning on volunteers to help us identify the neighborhoods and communities that will be receptive to that. Would love any thoughts or feedback here.
I have a question about under aerial option. What does the 20 customers qualify? What does that mean?
Yeah, so this is based on crowd fiber. So folks who have signed up and they have been scouted and that the aerial option is available to them,
I see.
but they
I
didn't
see.
continue on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got
So
it.
in theory, these folks have come through the majority of the sign up process and for whatever reason dropped off. We've also launched, and it's not here because it's not a formal campaign, but a stranded drops initiative where we have a list from WCVT of folks who did everything but turn on the internet. So it's been connected, it's been brought to the house, and WCVT has reached out to them multiple times to finish the process or decide on to order the product or whatever it might be. And they just have either gone silent or they've said that they went with a competitor because maybe it took too long or price reasons. And so we have a series of email campaigns that are going out, email messages that are going out to 8 different categories that we've identified. So whether it was cost or time, or they went with someone else, or they just were quiet, the groupings that I had mentioned. And then short messages that say, sorry that you're not a customer, in essentially, and why? What can we learn from you? So they have different 3-question surveys attached to each of them. So if they are folks that indicated they went with a competitor, there's 3-question survey that asks a couple of follow-up things like, why did you go with that competitor? The reason for that, are you happy with that competitor? Would you consider coming to Maple Broadband? And I will check, but we've been getting responses to those surveys. So even if they aren't converted to a customer, they're giving us really valuable information.
Yeah. Good.
Any other questions or thoughts?
I just have a comment to make sure it's clear. Those stranded drops are not drops that we've paid for. We only pay when a customer gets installed and signs up for service. So these are ones where WCVT did the drop because someone placed an order in crowd fiber, but they didn't check to make sure the customer still wanted service. So it's obviously it's going to benefit us to be able to get them converted, but I didn't want anyone to think that we'd been spending money on drops for non-customers.
Yeah, so this is, if we can bring them back, it's a bonus for all of us. It helps WCVT certainly recoup their costs, and at the very least, hopefully we're getting valuable information from them. Yep. Thanks, Ellie. So before I leave this, I just want to give a chance for any other comments or questions, because I'm going to shift to the WCVT Maple Broadband co-branding slide after this one. If there's nothing else related to summer campaigns. Great. So this is, Ellie, I'm sorry if I don't recall if this has been shared with the group before. Yes, it has been previously shared.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The link to
So,
these slides was shared ahead of time.
right. But did you discuss this in your previous executive committee meeting?
We
No.
did not.
Okay. All right. So the first time that you saw it was a day or two ago, and now we get to talk about it. Thank you for clarifying. So we're really excited to have received approval from the WCVT team to co-brand, and not only that, but shift the logo very slightly so that excuse me, what is the word that I'm looking for? I'm going it. If anyone has the word, and you win a prize. Oh my gosh, uh it goes really well with the Maple Broadband logo. So it when used together, instead of being the WCVT colors of green and blue, and also being slightly different structures, so that the word placement is different in the original logo, they've allowed us to alter it a little bit, to amend it, and also include the operated by, and we'll be using them together in tandem with the Maple Broadband logo. We did do a couple of mock-ups where we had the Maple Broadband logo with the WCVT logo very close in proximity, and that just didn't feel quite right. And so what we'll be doing is having it complement, that is the word I was looking for,
Yeah.
complement Maple Broadband's branding, while also still standing out and letting folks really know, Shannon, that this is a collaboration, and that WCVT is the operating partner. So we have a black version that you'll see here at the bottom of the emails. We have the white version that will be used on most of the marketing. So this top one is the draft for the Aerial Now campaign. This bottom left one is the yard signs for folks who are getting fiber installed, so we can increase our brand awareness on the streets. And then there will also be an updated graphic that will be in the bills. So one of the things that we learned from the market research were that folks were really confused when they received their first bill of who am I actually paying? Is this a bill I'm supposed to pay? So now we'll say Maple Broadband operated by WCVT to really start to alleviate that brand confusion and take advantage of what it means to be tied and operated with WCVT.
As well as when trucks showed up, people were confused. That's part of what came out in your customer research, right? Because they ordered from
Yes,
Maple
thank you,
Broadband. They
Ellie.
didn't know why a WCVT truck was showing up.
Mhm. Yeah, so a lot of brand confusion, and especially since WCVT also has Green Mountain Access as a sub brand,
Right,
there was a bit of
right.
confusion there too. So we are recommending that you proceed just with WCVT. We're not going to bring the Green Mountain Access sub brand into the co-branding, and increase awareness for both of you all as well.
Will that work? Like, if someone is a subscriber and they have trouble and they call the I have trouble number, um, will the what will they hear in relation to co-branding?
They should still be hearing that they've reached Maple Broadband. So at that point, I think there's too much opportunity for confusion for on the training side for it to. I get a little
Right.
nervous there,
Yeah.
but hopefully, if they see a Maple Broadband number and they call that and they're getting answered by Maple Broadband, that should be pretty clear. We're also shifting a bit how that is presented on the website too, so we have to dig a bit to get to support and know which support line to call. We'll make that clear on the new website too.
Yeah, but just an editorial comment on that. I mean, I think that that's the right answer, that people should, in an ideal world, when people call the phone number or get an email, it would be 100% the Maple Broadband brand. In the real world, sometimes they get shuffled off into a queue and they wind up engaging with a different brand. And so I think that this also helps that, because that's another opportunity for brand confusion. I've called Maple Broadband. Why am I now in a WCVT? You know, like why is someone answering the phone who maybe doesn't have the right? Because it does happen. We've I mean, at least I've heard that from customers in the early days. It probably still happens. So I think that
And tech
yeah.
support for Waitsfield Champlain Valley, they think of themselves and talk of themselves as Green Mountain Access. So if they're showing up, I mean, that's the other point of contact where when they come to your house to fix it, who do they say they are? And what do people understand about that? I mean, it isn't just about printed. The printed stuff looks great. With the human part will be built, will take some work probably.
Well, they are meant to have badges that are Maple Broadband branded and then identify themselves when they show up in person as Maple Broadband. And I mean, the trucks are all, I shouldn't say all, but a lot of the trucks are WCBT branded. Uniforms, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got subcontractors that are going to be doing some drops for us or buried service for us. That's going to be ones that are, I don't think you're going to find WCBT or Maple Broadband tags because they're third parties.
Yep.
And this is an opportunity for us to do some expectation setting too. Once folks sign up for service in the automated emails that go out when they're triggered to each stage, perhaps we could adapt some of the language so they know what to expect, include some photos of trucks. And there's a lot of, I think there's a lot we can do there. The print, Nancy, I appreciate that because the print is the most tangible for us to show you in this meeting and put on the slide. But there are a lot of other considerations.
Well, the print stuff is gorgeous. I think it's great. I do.
Wonderful, thank you.
Can we expect, if we approve this, can we expect to see the co-branding all the time, or are we going to sometimes not do co-branding? And how do we make a decision on, or how do you make a decision on when you're going to use the co-branding and when you're not?
Yeah, so the majority of instances will be the co-branding. You won't see that on social media, for example. They're not the graphics that are Maple Broadband aren't all going to say operated by Waitsfield Champlain Valley Telecom, but any external marketing piece will certainly have that. And the website, it won't be up front and center, but it will be integrated a little bit softer there. Ellie, I do believe we're also in the process of drafting an agreement with WCBT for usage so that we can make sure that we have access to this co-brand in perpetuity as well. And so I'm not sure if there's anything you want to add there.
No, we just talked about doing a one-page update or annexure to the network management agreement that covers the use of marks so that we have the intellectual trademarks, because they've given us their verbal okays. And we don't want to hold up anything while we wait on the legal work, but that is a box that we want to have ticked, but didn't want to get started until we had approval of the executive committee to move forward.
Thanks, Ellie.
One other item I wanted just to make sure the executive committee was aware of it. When Ellie and I met with Roger Nishi this morning on our kind of regular recurring project or relationship meeting that we have with them, he asked specifically about co-branding and wanted to reaffirm that it's single color. And I think maybe that was a curt question, because right now, if you look at what's there, it's either black on white or it's white. And I thought about it when Roger said it. Ellie said, yeah, that's understood. I want to make sure we all understand that. I think it works best to do that. I don't want to throw more color in there. It just adds confusion. Might not be desirable. So for me anyhow, I'm fine with the single color use.
Absolutely. And Steve, a little context there is that we had proposed a couple of versions that kept the WCBT green, but integrated the Maple Broadband orange. And so it looked like it was a marrying of the brands a bit. And that was a non-starter for Roger. Yeah, absolute no-go. And this looks really clean. One of the other versions we had proposed also had the lower left corner that cutoff that the Maple Broadband logo has, so we could try to have a parallel shape that also was turned down. And so we're really happy with this clean version that we have that we will only use in white or in black.
Yeah, And just they did some mock-ups as well with the normal WCVT colors, and it was not visually appealing. So that's why we wound up going with this. And guys, I don't want to cut this discussion short, but we do have a lot to cover in the next 55 minutes. So
okay, let me go to my.
We have, well, but we want to have a decision on this because I think the next thing is the website. So can we just see where the executive committee is sitting? Are you guys comfortable with moving forward to vote on this, or what are you thinking?
Or on the co-branding piece, or on the whole?
Yeah,
just
on the co-branding piece. Yeah, the marketing plan and budget you've already approved. We wanted to give you an update because you'd asked about the KPIs and for a little more detail, and just an update as to what's going on and what's planned. But the co-branding has something that we've talked about conceptually, and we seem to agree was a good idea for a number of reasons. WCVT is very much on board. Yes, we lost Ashley. Ashley's coming back, but we obviously need approval from the executive committee if we were to implement it.
Are we going to also present this to the governing board next week?
We haven't set out the agenda yet. We certainly can. Are you asking them to approve it, or are you merely informing them as a fait accompli?
Well, we can make a decision. I think we're going to be fine on this. I move that we proceed with the co-branding as proposed by during today's call. Is there a second? It was second discussion. Okay. All in favor? Raise your hand or say aye. Excellent. Thank you. So yeah, the question, Ellie, had only been, it's just for planning purposes. I just don't know what we're going to do. You're right. We don't have an agenda issued yet for next week's meeting, but do we need to cover this with our governing board? Do we want to cover this co-branding with the governing board?
I think we should inform them. I believe we've informed them up to this point, and we should let them know that it's going forward. We can share the slide as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Shannon, by the way, you were off screen. Were you voting in favor, or were you abstaining, or otherwise? You're muted.
Hold on. Sorry. Yeah, for some reason, Teams dumped me out. I'm voting in favor. Thanks.
Okay, so that's unanimous. Great. Thank you, everyone. Okay, Ashley, do you want to move on to the website update?
This one will be quick, short, and sweet. So a reminder of this website's broken into 4 phases. So we have that discovery strategy and planning phase, content generation, aggregation, and population of content. And we are now in phase 3. So we're into the design and development phase. And this review, Ellie will be passing to you at the end of next week with a complete website to start to look over, with an anticipated launch for June 30th. This launch timeline is we're moving a little bit more quickly so that we can not have you all renew the contract that you had with the previous web host and web developer, and be able to make this transition at a time that makes sense for billing. And of course, we're in our retainer relationship, we're here to maintain the website as well. So we are excited to get this new web presence up for you by the end of the month, but by no means is it's getting launched and being parked there. It'll be a really active live website, and we're excited for how it can improve the user experience. That's my quick, short version. If folks have any questions, I'm happy to answer. And we're exploring a couple of new features that I don't want to necessarily tease out yet until we confirm that we're going to move forward with them. I'm really excited for the feedback once you all get to take a look at the site. And typically the way that this would work would be that Ellie would have some time to review it. And Ellie, when you're comfortable sharing it out with folks, then we invite other folks to give some feedback as well. And we're excited for this one to be very mobile optimized too. I think that's a big part.
One, yes.
An issue that probably was just exclusive to me when we were first putting up our website was the fact that we're trying to sell high-speed broadband service, but we may have potential subscribers that have terrible internet and may have to wait a long time for the screen to completely fill in. And they did make a token effort to take that into account, and I just wanted you to be aware of it. I think I think about potential problem areas, that would probably be, again, GoNet speed, because there's some GoNet speed that now have fiber, so they've got super fast service, but there's others that are still, in our plans or their plans that currently have terrible DSL and maybe struggling with it. So I guess a concern would be trying to not present a fun, happy, exciting, active website that demands more from the slow user computer.
Definitely appreciate that, Steve, and it's certainly on our radar. We are taking into consideration compressing the image files as we're able, and those that might be too slow to load will also have the preload of just being able to show the colors behind. So that will certainly be loading at least the important information as quickly as possible. There are a couple of elements that look very sexy that certain elements are like will hold while others kind of slide in front of them. Those are intentionally built that way so that it looks like it's really sleek, but there's not a big pull on the bandwidth to actually get those loaded. So we're freezing a lot of items in place while letting others overlap to kind of give a bit more of the more interactive feel without pushing too much. The other thing is that on the mobile side, because what our experience is that folks with poor bandwidth will often look at these websites on a mobile device instead if they know that they have really slow internet. So making that will be a little, I don't want to say flat, but a little less sexy. So some of the things that would like freeze and slide over will just be a scroll down. So we're really being mindful of folks on mobile devices being able to get that information easily.
Great. So that's couldn't have asked for more. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Any other questions here that I can answer? As always, you give me so much of your meeting time. I apologize for taking so much, but I appreciate it. Ellie, anything else you'd like me to cover?
I'm very happy. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Ashley.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your evenings. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, great. Well, that finishes up the marketing section of the agenda. So next on the agenda is the proposed executive session to discuss BEAD and contingency planning, or I suppose we should say non-BEAD build planning.
I move to find that premature general public knowledge regarding Maple Broadband's business strategy would clearly place us at a substantial disadvantage because it risks disclosure of our activities if they were to be communicated to the public. Is there a second? Okay, Shannon and Nancy, thank you. I move that we enter into executive session to discuss business strategy under Title I, Section 313, subsection A of the Vermont statutes. Is there a second? Great, thanks all. All in favor? Great, okay, excellent. Thanks all.